I believe in polygamy.
Why?
Well, there's nothing wrong when a man marries more than two wives or there's more than one because as far as you can take care of them, I don't see anything wrong with it. You can give them the necessary love. You can perform well in bed and stuff. You give them whatever they need, both in financial, physical, and then everything, emotional feelings and stuff. So if you're able to provide all these things, I don't believe there's no reason why you shouldn't marry more than one.
Okay. Do you also believe in polygamy?
I don't.
Tell us why.
If a man is to marry more than two wives, it means his resource should be increased. He should provide for two or three people, and the love should be. The love is not enough because he has more than two wives, and one of them might be bad or good.
Do you believe polygamy is something people should be ashamed of?
Oh no. If you have more than a wife and then you are able to provide for all of them, I don't see any reason why you should be ashamed of. Being ashamed, no. I don't believe you should be ashamed of having more than a wife. Because you are not the first person to start something. You get it? Other people have done it, and so if you also continue on their footsteps, there's nothing wrong. David was a king, and then he was doing some, and then there was nothing wrong about it. So I see no reason why it should be wrong having more than a wife.
Any man that practices polygamy is a cheat.
Why do you say so?
Yeah, because it's 1:1. You have one wife, you have your kids, you can do whatever you want with one person. So why do you have to marry two? Why? What do you want? It doesn't mean you have enough strength or what. Why should you marry two?
I also think that there should be a system or a law that should back polygamy.
Yeah, some societies believe in polygamy. You know, we find ourselves in a relation where the society frowns upon polygamy here in Ghana. But as far as other society believe in polygamy, I don't see anything wrong when you also believe in polygamy.
All right, we're touching on a very difficult subject. Some practice it, they hide it. If we're to open up, would we have a better society? I'm just asking. Welcome to my banner as we discuss the realities of polygamy here in our country and in our society. And my guests are seated. Nana Osei Chum, Berifa the Fourth, Chief of Kwewu Bukruwa. It's a pleasure to have you here on our show. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And also Reverend Oscar Siripi. He's no stranger to our show. Reverend, good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is a subject that I know you'll be saying one wife, one woman, but there are people who are doing it. So, we want to find a way around it. So I'll start with you, Nana. What do you think about how we're practicing polygamy in our society today? There are people who are not showing their faces, but they are actually second wives, third wives, and things like that.
Well, as you are saying, it is true. I am now a chief, but I've decided to come and explain certain things for others also to understand. Now, the issue that you have brought, yes, polygamy, to me, I was born into it. I grew with it because when I came up, my father was having 3 wives. And so as I was growing, I was also trying to look at why he was having more than one. And then looking at the situation, what prompted my father to go into that system. So I was just looking at it. And then the historical aspect of it is that in the olden days, we were not having cars, no anything. We just used drums to beat, to just sound messages to some people. And so as society was then growing, they decided to do farming, and farming was the best option that you can go in. And so whilst they were farming, a lot of societies also thought that Openias Messi is a well-to-do person. Let him add one of my nephews too, so that he'll be able to have something from that man. And that something that he's going to have is when he helps the person, definitely he will pass some of the property to the lady. And so those men also use as an indirect way of labor. When I'm marrying more than one, Akusia is here, Amma is here, so-and-so is here. Okay, let us go to the farm. You start from this point, you start from this angle, and then as you keep working, he also see how to maintain you and the children. And so with all these, people then got to know that well. From that on, it is not anything new to the society having more than one wife, because they were using the labor. And in those areas, to those who were having more than one wife, they were able to settle them, some with buildings and others, so that their families also got something from that angle. Then coming to our level, you will see that people come to work here. They've got enough money. And so if I'm with you, Akusia, why don't try to get one woman in addition to you? And then he may tell you that I just want to marry. And then in an anger mood, you will also say, I don't want you to go for any woman. Let us stay here. Oh, if Akusia is saying this, let me do it myself. And so before you realize, the woman is in, and then the rivalry starts from that angle. And then if the rivalry is going on, if you two can stay, then let me go and bring the third person, just to make sure that it will be able to settle with your anger. But that also didn't go well with them. And so it gets to the man as to how to manage himself with all these women. And then the children too, you see them also coming. Let me use an example. As my father was having about 3 wives, if I think I'm hungry, let me go to my mayor. Today I will get something. And true to that, I will go, and then fufu may be ready. I'll pound, I'll get my share, and I'll feel free and go away. So it is not anything that we in the account system or with our society frowns on it. But as religious people also came in, they decided to say that this is not good, and if it's not good, then they will look at it from a different angle, hide it, but at the same time, they will be practicing it.
It's good you've given us a bit of history. I'll come back to you with a question of, if we were exposing, if we were doing it like the way it used to be done, would we have a better society? So please think about it.
Right.
You don't believe in polygamy?
No.
Do you?
No.
Were you born into one?
No.
Okay. But you know that even with people who go to church, they've got other women that they've traditionally wedded. Otherwise, I can't combine the two. I can't see the two. But they've married them traditionally, in addition to those that they've married in the church. Are you aware that this exists?
It depends on the individual. And I'm happy you said people who go to church and not those who believe in what they claim they are doing. 2 things. So you can go to church and not believing in holiness. You can go to church and not believing in tithe. You can go to church and not believing in some of the things that they do. So I'm happy you said those who go to church. So we are looking at the genesis of marriage.
But so, what is wrong with loving 2 or 3 other women, and if you know in your hearts of hearts that you can take care of them and let them have a better life, what's wrong with that?
Is it in the church or outside the church?
Oh, as a person.
No,
From your perspective as a reverend.
you see, it depends on the individual. That's what I said. You know what you want.
So if you were counseling me, you would say it depends on you.
No, but I'll look at where you are coming from. If I'm dealing with a Muslim, I know where the person is coming from. And if I'm dealing with you as a Christian, then I know where you are coming from. So based on where you are coming from, then I'll give you my advice, and then you take a decision. See, counseling is not imposing things on people. You tell them the truth. That's why even God, He has given us our will. So you sit down and say, okay, I don't want A, I want B. And God says, okay. So even God, He has not imposed His will on humanity. So when you come to me as a counselor, depending on, like I say, your background, I give my opinion, my advice, my professional advice, and then you take a decision.
Okay.
So you don't impose your will on people. It's not right. Because everything you do, there are consequences. So
and you feel there are consequences to this
yes,
one if you marry more than one.
Like the Nana was saying, be truthful to yourself. So what do you believe in? I believe in the Bible. What is the Bible saying about marriage? And then you go by it. So what if you want to marry, what do you believe in? Because the Bible, when you look from the beginning, God is the one who brought about the institution called marriage. He took one person, a man and a woman, not a man and two women. So from the beginning, God took one man, one woman. To the extent that when they even entering the Noah's Ark, it was one animal, one female, male, female, male. You see, so from the beginning, it was one man, one wife. That's what the Bible says, that for this reason, a man shall leave the father and the mother and cleave to his wife.
Okay. So here's a question, and you have to listen to this carefully. Recent reports on population reveals the ratio of man to woman is 1:7. So if every man marries a woman and remains faithful to her, what happens, Reverend, to the other 6?
You see, Mama V, marriage is not by force. No. You see, we are creating an impression as if marriage is by force. The Bible says that in the book of Matthew 19, Jesus said, there are people who have been born Enochs. There are people who have been made Enochs by men, and there are people who have chosen to be Enochs for the sake of the gospel. So marriage is not by force.
If all 6 also want to be married?
So I'm saying that marriage is not by force.
Okay, yeah.
So you take a decision and say, I want to marry. What do you believe in?
So I guess essentially what you're saying is what you believe in will inform
exactly
what you will do.
Yes, and that's where I want to buttress the point you made about we being the church and pretending.
Okay, let me go back to him. I'll come to you. So let's get to the question of if we were opening up the things we're doing in the dark, would we have a better society?
Well, okay, let me also take you to in the olden days where they were marrying more than one wife, but they were staying peacefully.
Were they really happy?
They were happy because they were being cared by the men who are marrying them.
Were they not pretending to be happy for the sake of peace?
Well, that's why you will look at it from that angle. But yes, here we are, Akusia, all this area, you are going to take care of it, and then you also give part to your children. Ama, you're also going to take care of this place, and you give part to your children. So when you go to your farm, when this lady also go to her farm, where they all work, and then they have in mind that as we are working, we are looking at the future of the children, the well-being of the children. And therefore, they come home fully satisfied because he knows definitely he has had something. And the man too has given this lady something. It's only when greediness comes in. That's why you see all those things. So at the moment, as the Reverend was saying, people are just pretending I'm marrying the wife. But in other words, you see that he's having about 3 or 4 girlfriends going around. Why don't you open up? And if you marry 2, it is all that good to me. But I think others who are having from other religious beliefs may say what I'm saying is completely against their beliefs. But when you open up, I think it will let the people, those around, to know that yes, this is what we are going through. And so if I am staying with 2 women, is that okay?
Are there systems to support polygamous marriages in Ghana? And what kind of systems are there?
Systems in what way?
If, you know, if I am a second wife and I have issues, I can't go to Reverend, for instance. But I mean, because Reverend doesn't believe in what I'm doing anyway.
Why don't you discuss with your man if you have some issues? That is where the whole thing should start. I am the man, and we are having issues. Why don't we sit down, look at the issues, we take the pros and the cons, and then we see how we will settle it. Because going to the reverend is also having a block that, yes, it is one woman, one wife, or one man. However, when you go to the Bible, when God was creating all those things, there were not so many women or so many men, and so he decided to say, you two, you should marry. And now we are more than one, as we say, when we come to Ghana here, one man has to get about 7 women. You see, but we are not looking at that too. All those things should be looked into. And so, to me, let us open up. And when we do open up, I think it will help us. Rather than to cover it, and then it creates a whole lot of problem for you, the man, who is actually trying to put certain things under cover. So, Mami, let us see we open up.
Reverend, what do you say?
You see, Mama V, that point that he made, that there were not so many human beings.
Yes.
Now, you know, God created human beings.
Mm-hmm.
He could have made 2, 3 women for Adam. He has the power to do it. God has the power to have created 3 women for Adam at a go.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't do that. And you see, at the end of the day, for me, the issue is about what do you believe in? You see, when you say that, for me, I believe in the Bible, and then you marry, and then you are the same person going around sleeping with other women, then you are not being truthful to yourself. You must be truthful to yourself and say, for me, this is what I believe in. I don't believe in what people talk about in the Bible. But the moment you say that you believe in the Bible, and the Bible says this or that, then you must go by it. The problem is, you see, when we are going to marry, sometimes we are pushed into the marriage. The foundation upon which we are basing our marriage, most of the time, is faulty. So then you marry Mama V, and then you realize that no, it's not Mama V I wanted. I wanted Ajuata. So what happens? So now you are with Mama V physically, but emotionally you are with Ajuata. So you must define what you want. You don't marry because you are being pushed into the marriage. You don't marry because everybody is marrying. Once you don't do that, and you go for what you need or what you believe in, then you stay. But where, like I said, we pretend that we believe in the Bible, and then we do all those things, and then we are the same people trying to hang on to our ex and having sex with our ex, and we claim we believe in the Bible, then there's a problem.
Okay, let's talk about this. How do we cure the issue of, people hiding it? Because if you look at the larger society, it looks like people frown on this practice.
No, sorry, before you go, let me add this point. The one you talk about, the woman having problems, a second wife, and coming to the reverend. You see, once you knew what you were entering into, when you were going, you met a wife there, and you decided to enter into that marriage. When there's a problem, you know you cannot come to a reverend. Before you came into that marriage, the man was there with the wife, and you decided and made that decision that I want to be a second wife.
So, okay. So when you have issues, you deal with it.
Exactly.
Because you knew where you were entering into. So there you have it, Nana. The larger society will certainly not accept this. So how do you then practice it healthily?
That is why I was saying that in order that they can practice it healthily, it should be open. And when you open up, and then the man or the woman sees that, yeah, this man is actually, he has opened up to that polygamy. And so if I'm going in, I know he has a first lady. And so once I am going as a second lady. And then you look at what are the duties and all that issues that will be referred to as a second lady. Then you have to accept it in that way that yes, once you were going in, there was a woman. And so once you have come as a second wife, you don't need or you don't expect that everything will be given to you. You have to abide with whatever will have to be given to you. Because once you have it in your mind that you are going in as a second wife, then you don't need to go and quarrel with anybody. And that is how we can open up.
I'm getting lots of messages on 0560 800,000. There are lots of messages. This one says, my question goes to Reverend. He said marriage is not by force. So can one choose not to marry but have girlfriends? And if is the case, how can we make families, homes and houses without a wife? That's one of such messages on our platform. This one says, I'm in total agreement with Nana. Having more than one wife, which well recognized, is more honorable than pretend to have one and more concubines. This one says, I'm a Christian, but I fully support Nana. I know numerous church leaders who are married but have many issues outside. It would have been better they legally marry two and be faithful to them. Otanko in Kwando sending that message. This one says, notes the population now in Ghana, the women are more than the men. What will happen if these women are not married? Should we allow them to practice lesbianism? I guess you're trying to say. Look at the Old Testament. This were all pastors. Okay, let me end it here because I'm not sure I'm getting the import of it. This one from Salom Given says, there are situations sometimes not really intentional. Apart from that, men already have the experience of handling more girlfriends. So we the women, no, so the women used to detain, or please don't do shorthand. I find it very difficult. If you can write all out, then it will be easier for me. Anthony Bavi from WA says, I support polygamous marriage because it brings about union among families. And to the Reverend, what about Reverend fathers who are impregnating the young ladies all over? It's not all of them, I must add. You think we shouldn't talk about the Bible? Cry, hear you. There are also lots of situations that also put people in a situation taking on two wives, some good and some unintentional. The earlier message was, tell Rev to call a spade a spade. It's happening in our churches, not only church goers but believers. He knows it, but thanks to the chief with his insightful talks. Alfred in Kumasi, we hear plenty messages, but unfortunately I can't go into all the messages because time is not on our side. We've got to wrap up on this conversation, but I wanted some practical things that we could help people with. Somebody is in this practice, because what I promised myself not to do on the show today was to condemn, because there are people who are living the life.
Right.
So how do they continue knowing that the larger society frowns on the practice? How can you live comfortably like that?
Well, to live comfortably with it is just not trying to hide it. Let it be in the open, so that if there is anything going wrong, somebody can advise you. But when you keep hiding it, somebody will see you like you are not having any problem. But if you don't hide your problem and then you expose your problem, people will give you advice on it, because going into polygamy sometimes is not just going for going's sake. Sometimes it depends upon how your first wife may not be having children, and then you see the family will be frowned on you. Why you don't have children? Why?
So is it all about the man and what he wants?
In the initial stages, they were just looking at it from the woman. But now, it has now been established that it's not only the woman, but sometimes it's also coming from the man. And so when all these things happens, you see that you may be thrown outside with your mind going here and there. And sometimes the only thing you have to do is to settle for another woman. And therefore, if that is the way that you came into it, you must be able to see how you will live with them, and then make sure that whatever you are sharing amongst them, it should be equal, so that they will also be satisfied. So we have to open up, and when you are in it, don't hide it. Let people know that you are in that system, so that if there is nothing going wrong, they can advise you. But if you keep hiding it, then it will just turn out to be a very big problem that even solving it becomes a problem.
Okay. Reverend, finally, what would you say?
If you want to marry, what do you believe in? Should be the basis. So I'm a Christian. I
You believe in God, you believe in the Bible.
I believe in the Bible. I believe in God through Christ. So I believe in the Bible. The issue about the rest of the women, what happens to them, that's not my business. It's not my business. You see, we are trying to justify things that people do. At the end of the day, if you marry and you sit in the church, and that's why I started by saying, it's not that some were saying, believers.
Yes.
And yes.
They're active participants in the church.
Listen, Mama V, the fact that somebody is a believer and is living his life against the word of God does not mean what he's doing is right. You see, it's about time people are told the truth. That the further you see somebody going to church and the person claims is this and is that. If you read the book of Timothy, the Bible says that before you are even made an elder in the church, a leader, you must be a man of one wife. A bishop must have one wife. It's there stated.
So, I see the church and tradition will certainly not agree on this.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
but
saying.
we've been living peacefully, we can continue.
So
right?
that's what I'm saying. That when you are going to marry, what do you believe in? What do you believe in? Because the Bible says that before you are made a leader in the church or a bishop, you must be a man of one wife. So that if you claim that you believe in the Bible, and the Bible is saying that to be made an elder in the church, a deacon or a bishop, you should be a man of one wife, and you say, no, I want to have two wives, then there's a problem.
Okay. All right, but this has certainly been helpful. I really like your thoughts from both sides. Maybe we can do this another time and continue from where we've ended. But for now, I really appreciate it.
And those who are pretending, they should stop it. If you are sitting in the church, you are pretending, stop it. Because at the end of the day, you'll be exposed.
Reverend Oscar Sirifi, thanks a lot for your time. And Nana, you had a show yesterday.
Yes.
Late in the night, but you were able to make it this morning. Really, really grateful that you could make it.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. Nana Oseichum Brefa the fourth on this conversation. I know that we're still having the conversation on WhatsApp, so let's keep having it. And you never know, bring the other sides of this conversation that we have not had, so that we can have it here on our show. Stay with us. This is the AM show.